Welcome to ReReview, where we watch movies from our past with a perspective from today. Your hosts are Matt, Bobby, and Austin, and we love the films from our youth, so we're taking a look back to see if they still hold up. On this episode, we are discussing Newsies. It was released in 1992, directed by Kenny Ortega. It stars Christian Bale, Bill Pullman, and Robert Duvall. Also music by Alan Menken and Jack Feldman. This movie is about slanging product on the street corner. Now, this is a fair warning. We are spoiling a 33-year-old movie, so if you haven't seen it, we will be revealing key plot points. I think this is our first, right? We all agree this is the first musical we have tackled here on ReReview.
Believe so.
Why are we watching musicals? Oh, because we're trying to challenge ourselves and push beyond the things that we find regular. And ultimately, you know, this is a re-review, so at least one of us watched this movie in their youth and said it was worth rewatching. That's right? That's how this works. Okay, honest question. What is the more okay, let me think about this a couple ways. When it comes to going into a film, is it important for you to know that it is a musical going into it? And I ask this because I know in this day and age, I think we see marketing ploys where they actually hide the fact that a movie is a musical from
yes,
the public.
They did this recently, didn't they?
Yeah, with Willy Wonka and I think a couple of the others. Do you think there's a place for musicals in the movie going world? Because traditionally, it's really born out of theater, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
That's tough because obviously we just came out of a season where Wicked did fairly well.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, Emilia Perez didn't, yet is sweeping Golden Globes and Oscar nominations. And up until recently, it was... Because here's the weird thing, right? When you think about musicals, in Hollywood's early days, it was all musicals.
Yeah.
Like it was the age of, Gene Kelly, like they were everywhere, Singing in the Rain and everything. They were all musicals. Some of the biggest blockbusters in, early Hollywood history were musicals that still to this day are probably taught in film classes. Yet it's seen as a mark of, it's like the Scarlet Letter or something where if you present yourself as a musical and not having a pre-established fan base, because I think that's the difference, right? Wicked, very well established fan base going into it.
Mm-hmm.
It, for whatever complaints I have about that movie, and I do, it was well shot, and they obviously put money behind it, so it's not like it was put together on a shoestring budget or anything like that. They didn't do it just as a cash grab.
Same with this one, well shot, and they put money behind it, right?
You were like this close, man. But to be fair, and that's where because there was the era of the musicals, there is the era of the Westerns. Obviously, we've been in the era of the superhero movies for a while now. In the 90s, I think it was very much the indie movie era, like where you had all these smaller productions. And then so now during this time period, I can't even really think of other musicals from the early 90s that really stand out to me that are pure musicals. So even during this time...
Unless they're animation, right?
Animation, yeah. Obviously, this being made by Disney, I kind of felt like that was the only safe space for musicals, was because even Disney, with there for a while, they had kind of abandoned musicals too, because they were doing like Black Cauldron and The Rescuers, and they had kind of abandoned it too. And then we got to the golden era where they got Howard. Oh my God, why am I forgetting his last name? The one who did like Little Mermaid. Yeah, no, Menken is the other one.
Ashman?
Yeah. He brought it back, and he was like, these two things were kind of meant for each other. And so we got those, and all very popular. Everyone knows the most popular songs. And then you have like this movie, which is from Disney, and it just is a thing. And then now it's I feel like the fact that we had to question which came first, the movie or the musical, says more about the movie. I think the fact the musical has outlived it. So
wait, so the answer was the movie?
Yeah, the movie came first.
Yes.
based off of a real event. Now, obviously, I assume they weren't dancing and singing in the streets, probably, but yeah, the movie came first, did so, and then we got the musical, which has been going for what, 20 plus years, if not more. So
that's an interesting thing, because I think, Bob, if I asked you going into, knowing that it is a musical, what do you feel is like the important thing that you're looking for when you watch a movie that happens to be a musical?
I just want it to be entertaining. I mean, see, the thing about musicals is I like to know it's a musical going into it, because I feel like I have to be in that mindset to like realize that there's going to be, let's say there's a scenario where there's a dude walking down the street and he's just going to start singing, like maybe dancing.
You don't want surprise songs in your movies?
Right. I'm like, Well, there are movies where there's just one musical scene, right? Like everybody sings and dances. Like they generally do that as like an homage to other movies, right? Or like Bollywood type of movies, or
like
my brain started thinking of Shaun of the Dead for some reason, but I know that's just music playing on a jukebox, right?
Well, and to be fair, like, we've had fairly successful ones recently with like, La La Land and like, but they don't hide it. It was only ones like Wonka where they did try to hide it and it backfired on them.
But see, why do you think they hid the fact that it was a musical? You think
a lot of people don't like
musicals. But I mean, like, why'd they make one?
Why'd they make it? Because I think that there's a passion for it. I think that you have a lot of people. I mean, it's kind of the thing, right? You have a cross-pollination of actors, stage actors, and actors for screen. Like you have drama actors, you have musical actors, and then you have actors for, camera. They kind of bounce around because, like, how many times do you see like an Ian McKellen? Like, okay, well, I did Gandalf 15 times. Time to go do a stage musical for the next 5 years. Like, it happens all the time. So,
how about the like musical artist biopic movies that seem to be very popular right now?
That feels different, right? But I guess you can call those musicals.
I feel like, to kind of steal Bobby's question away from him, to me, like a good musical and a true musical, like it has to feel organic. Kind of like in Scott Pilgrim, how it at no point did I ever question the fight sequences and how ludicrous it was, because it just felt organic to what was going on.
Really good.
See, I didn't say that, because like I think that's really, really hard to do. And to me, they're very rarely that way. And I think I've enjoyed some that aren't that way, but I would like it if it wasn't awkward that they just started breaking into song and dance.
So it's a bit of a pacing type of thing, Matt, where, again, getting into the song shouldn't feel as abrupt as it does. And I feel we're kind of saying here with Newsies, there's a lot of abrupt song engagement.
Very much so.
I feel like we're dancing around the thing I just really wanted you all to say that you didn't say. Maybe, just maybe, the song should kick butt.
Yeah. And here's the thing, right? Because Minkin was involved in this, right?
Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin is Minkin. And what happened here?
Okay, all right. To be fair, and I guess this is something that, like, maybe if I had seen the actual musical, is this a case of they put actors in place that were not singers? Had they actually had real singers in this, would this have been a more solid piece? Because like I can hum along at least to most songs in like Wicked or a lot of other movies that are musicals.
Yeah, but I think
but this one's got nothing memorable.
And there's going to be my challenge. Like, Bobby, give me your earworm. Which was your favorite song, and what did you like about it?
I think the one I think Santa Fe is the one that I like the most. But right now, like, the one that's kind of playing in the back of my head is The King of New York.
Bobby has excellent memory, and maybe because we just watched it. Matt, do you have a song that's actually playing in your head after watching this?
The only one that really stood out to me where I was like, oh, this isn't bad. And it was only a portion of it because it started off as an ensemble and then somebody else took over was the High Times, Hard Times, where they're in the theater singing. And what's her face, the one in the pink, starts singing. I was like, oh, this actually isn't too bad because she can actually sing.
Yeah, she says, stick out your chest.
Like, there's that too. Unrelated, but sure.
I definitely had Santa Fe as my number one, but in reality, I am not remembering. Like I didn't have that thing that's sick to it when I was thinking of some other podcasts I was listening to called Switch on Pop, where they break down music, and they were talking about sort of this era of Disney and how they also tied into incorporating big artists into stuff that they did. So if you think of like what Lion King and including Elton John,
right.
And the names that they have to write some really big pop songs around what they're accomplishing. Was there an element of, I guess, you mentioned Wicked, and obviously it's been around forever. Did we actually hear, and maybe this is not even a thing that you could say this in this day and age, were they playing Wicked on the radio? Do people play, when Hamilton was big, were they playing Hamilton tracks on the radio?
The Defying Gravity song, I feel like kind of like reached like it was done by Glee, and I feel like it was various places at sometimes, but that's the only one I'm aware of.
And I get it. Like, this is, Bobby, back to what you're saying. Making films are hard. Writing music is hard. Not everything is going to be a hit. But it also means that when it comes to watching a musical, if I don't get like an earworm or something that is pulling me along, tied into the pacing that you're talking about, Matt, where they move through the story, but then really incorporate the song into it. And I think even as the movie opened, the first thing you said is like, what the hell is happening?
Well, I think that's kind of the problem that I had when I was watching this was I feel like they were singing and dancing just to sing and dance. Like there was no connection between the two things. Like, to me, the song and the dance number should somehow play into what's happening and advance things. And I very rarely felt like that was the case. Like, technically Santa Fe is the I Want song that you normally have in these kind of things or whatever. So I get that, but it's weird because I get where you were supposed to transition from one to the other, where we were supposed to go from, he's this scrappy, self-reliant guy to having dinner with the family, and he's supposed to be self-reflecting on the fact that he doesn't have a family. And it's like, oh, I want that. And so Santa Fe is tied to that for some reason, even though technically his family wasn't there. That was a lie. So, okay. I guess he just wanted to go to Santa Fe for some reason.
Right. He just likes the fact that there's more open space.
That's all they got. I don't, it just doesn't feel like it was really tied to it. Whereas like I watch Wicked and it at least feels like what's going on in the song and the dance is kind of driving the plot, because you're dedicating minutes of your screen time. And if it's just to show off that these kids can dance, that does nothing. After the first one, you've already shown that they can dance, but then they just do the same dances over and over again. I think of like the Matilda movie that came out not too long ago. There's like that sequence in the middle or whatever. I'm like, that actually like drove the plot. It's literally like the revolting revolt or whatever. So like,
that is some incredible dancing in that one by some
they were amazing. Very, very energetic, and like what they're saying very much ties into what they're feeling at the time. And by the end of it, you're like, okay, this actually connects to it. I don't think I felt that once during this, unfortunately. They were just doing it. And maybe I'm just not the guy that's the musical Artur or whatever, but
and I think that's where we're getting into. We're going to get ripped to shreds for
I'm
loving every musical ever made.
I'm not going there because this is my mom's favorite movie, and I did read that this has become a cult classic. And just because it's my mom's favorite movie, granted, doesn't mean it needs to be everybody else's too. But I do think that the movie has gained some kind of cult status.
I mean, I can't wait to ask your recommendation, because now you got a battle against Mom. We're gonna hold off on that for now.
Right.
Okay, our story is a bunch of kids who sell newspapers at 50 cents a pop. Now I got to sell them at 60 cents a pop. They don't like it. They're gonna go on strike. And by the way, the leader is a criminal, but he's going to get out of it because Teddy Roosevelt is the governor. And maybe he falls in love with his buddy's sister, who loves watching his sister make out with the main character, Jack. How's this for a summary?
Hey, most people didn't live past 20, so you have to just enjoy life during that time, you know? You just got to roll with the punches.
I mean, what is it? It's 1899, right? Go ahead, Bobby.
Oh, I was just going to make an off-colored comment about how the crippled guy just has like a sprained ankle and now he's like permanently damaged because of medical technology in the day.
You succeed.
God damn it, Bobby.
You succeeded. I'm so glad I just let you say that. Just all the way out. Okay, we got Christian Bale, who we all know and love, as our leader, Dark Knight, who is the villain that we need.
A little bit of a surprise to see him singing and dancing, no?
Well, how about him being 45 years old in this movie somehow?
He did have like kind of like the raspy, like I'm smoking in the movie and in real life kind of situation going on, it seemed. Or maybe that was just a way to hide his Welsh accent.
His accent. Yeah, to his credit, like I tried not to be too harsh about it. It just threw me off seeing an 18-year-old version of him that still, and I think I said it was like credit to him, the fact that he still looks similar in his 40s and 50s. But yeah, it was a really weird, because like I don't know why, to me, the age that I imagine the Newsies being is like capping at like 14, 15.
You're on some Lord of the Flies stuff here.
I guess it's just weird because, like, you know, I'm a fan of history, so like I'm very, you know, attuned to like, you know, the Newsies in actual reality and their role in society during that time, especially leading up to like the Great Depression and everything. And to me, they are like, you know, 7 to 15-year-olds, but then after that, maybe they got sent to the coal mines.
Can you enlighten me on the actual history? Like, what is there anything that is interesting that we're missing that they didn't talk about in this?
I mean, it's not that they didn't. It's kind of weird because I don't think they showed them selling newspapers that often in this movie, except for at the boxing match. Right. I don't remember seeing because, like, to me, that, you know, it's the kid on the corner, right? And it was usually the extra, you know, what was the word that was going on? The Philippines were during this, and you know, they kind of were the, you know, the what was that? Hilton or whatever his name was, that was really popular back in like the early 2000s. That was like Hilton? Kind of the gossip point. Perez Hilton,
okay, wow.
Like, well, kind of like, you know, that was like these kids kind of were the distributors of that information, which is so weird because, like, you know, obviously newspapers aren't really much of a thing these days. But I still remember because I delivered newspapers when I was a kid, but it was to the machines. Right.
I played a video game called Paperboy. That's all I got.
Okay.
But it's funny too, because like even most of the shows and cartoons growing up, kids were delivering newspapers, rolled up newspapers in their bags, riding their bikes, throwing them, you know, that it's like the cliche of like the 70s to 90s childhood. It was like everyone's job besides mowing the yard. But it's, you know, it's weird to think that that wasn't the case. It was these kids on street corners handing out 3 or 4 sheet newspapers back then, before having comic strips and obituaries and classifieds. It was literally that was all the way you got news, because there was no TV. There was, did they have radio back then? Yes, I can't remember if it was
radio.
Yeah.
Turn of the century.
1899.
Oh, let's not.
Because like they
don't like the sound of that. Turn of the century. Oh gosh, I'm gonna go vomit now.
Well, because this is only 30 years after the Civil War at this point. So technology's at that weird place. So
how about our president? I mean, our journalist friend, Bill Pullman, playing Brian Denton, who's there to push these kids forward in their need for justice against the man.
Singing.
Joseph Bolster.
Was it just me, or did it feel weird? Did he feel like I was kind of waiting for his turn he was actually the villain? Because it felt really strange to me that he was so invested. Like, granted, he was a journalist and he should be, but this is also the age of the newspapers only being run by, you know, oh my God, I was about to say by the millionaires, billionaires, but that's not too different than today. But so he felt strangely invested, and I didn't quite grasp his connection to it.
I thought about that too. And what I figured is that I think that he really wanted to break a really big story about child labor, you know, even if it was going to potentially like mean it could be harmful to his own magazine. Or newspaper. I think he thought that it could potentially be like a really huge story.
Which it ended up being, right?
Yeah.
Gotta get that scoop.
It's, I mean, the idea that it was because he became such a central focus because he was the king of New York, right? That's who they were singing about. And they decided to put him up on that shelf, even though at the end of the day, he was really rallying behind Jack Kelly being a voice who needed David Jacobs to push him and be the quote unquote brain of the operations. But, you know, you talked about being not that different from the day. One of my notes definitely did say the movie is a bit prescient. But it's probably more that the nature of humans, we are very cyclical, are we not?
Is it kind of unethical, the fact that he was driving the story as a journalist?
It's funny you mentioned that, because I was thinking that exact thing just a minute ago. Isn't his role as a journalist to just be a impartial observer?
You mean not to spend money and bail people out of jail?
Yeah, or like show up and be like, hey kids, you know, you should keep going because you're really onto something here. And boy, you can really make a good story for me.
See, I think that's the reason why I was kind of half expecting him to turn out to be a villain, because I was like, it feels really weird. He's driving this, he's bankrolling this revolution.
Right. I mean, maybe he's just like doing it because he's the only adult in the room, but it does feel like it's unethical from a journalistic standpoint. That's for sure.
You have created challenges for me now. Not my president. Robert Duvall. Playing Joseph Pulitzer and really representing the ideal of corporate greed and need for power. As we move through this, obviously it's just a big battle against the needs of what he wants to do with his newspaper. And then you see all the fat cats around the table who are running all of the newspapers. Is the end result really what we expected? Did we learn anything?
I honestly don't feel like during this time period, one, can we admit that they really made Pulitzer very eccentric for some reason? Like he felt like he was neurodivergent or something, where like I mean, I know that he had the whole thing where he couldn't handle the sound when the windows are open, but like they really, and maybe he really was in real life. I don't know. I don't know enough about Pulitzer outside the prize to speak to it, but I don't feel like he would have caved like that. That felt weird that he caved on that, when it feels like, you know, during this time, union busting was kind of a thing.
It did feel a little bit abrupt to me.
It kind of feels like in reality he would have thrown Jack off the balcony. Like, oh no, he fell. That's a tragedy. Guess you guys get to go back to work.
I'm saying the movie should be longer. Yeah.
You son of a...
Not more songs. You just want more of the in-between, right?
Right. The logistics. Tell me about the logistics again.
So you want to get into like how he was running his business and how that extra 10 cents really would have made him a lot more money. Okay, clearly you don't care enough about it from that perspective.
And I want to know about the other business aspects of his business too.
Wait, okay, you're done. You're cut off at this point. I can't even with you. Look, we had like a little mini love story that was thrown in, and I feel like with musicals, I do think that love stories tend to be a big part in a way, or at least a deeper reflection of the connection between the characters. And maybe that's the thing I feel like it was missing. As they sung to each other, I did not feel their passion. The Newsies may have been banded as one big group, but they all felt like they were standing alone, each of them, with themselves. Bobby, would you agree?
That's so depressing.
To a certain extent, yes, I agree. I also find it interesting that there was one woman in the entire thing. So
No, we had
There were two. Well, I guess if you want to count a woman.
three.
yeah, the
We'll say-
girl.
Wait, are we doing the
whatever,
Bechdel, the Bechdel test, right? Is that what we're...
Okay.
Yeah.
Did they talk to each other? Not
no.
once.
No, they did
Right.
not.
Yikes. Oops.
But so like, here's my thing, right? It'd be very easy for me to compare this to another Revolution-based musical with Les Mis, where there are love stories in that. And it doesn't necessarily drive the overall plot, but it does drive character reasoning. Because I mean, obviously you had a lot of intertangled love stories, people with their children, and you know, all the different ways that the thing that motivates them, right? And outside of a little bit of Jack with something about his imaginary family that didn't actually exist at any point that we find out, like, you don't really get a good sense of what a lot of their motivations really are, other than don't be broke, which, yeah, I can relate, you know, but that's not really a huge motivator. And I feel like that's kind of the thing too, is I feel like this movie should have focused more on the harshness and maybe even poverty of the Newsies and the other kids
like an
during
Oliver
this time
Twist
period.
life thing going here, huh?
At least a little bit, because I mean, to be honest, it didn't feel all that bad. I mean, yeah, the extra 10 cents sucks, but again, could they not just increase the price of the newspapers themselves? You know, scarcity, like, oh no, we lost all the papers, you know.
Yeah, they could have colluded with themselves to increase the price on their own. Yeah, I like that.
The Newsies cartel. Exactly.
I don't even think the raising of the price thing is the worst thing. Like, I think it's the system in place. Like, they go and they buy newspapers from the distributor, and then they make money off of what they buy. Like, the whole system just seems
you're about to discover capitalism. I think.
I was about to say, Bobby, Viva la Revolution. Okay, we gotta know, Bobby, knowing your mother is a great fan of this film. First, tell us how that affects your decision on recommendation, and then tell us your honest recommendation.
My honest and my affected, biased recommendation are both to watch the movie. I mean, it's a Disney musical that has become a cult classic and play for a very long time. I think there's merit in it, although some other people might disagree. There's no other place where you will find Christian Bale and Bill Pullman singing and dancing.
You know, that is a very, very good point. I feel like with that argument, Matt, you must be convinced that this is worth recommending. How do you feel about the Newsies?
You know what? Honestly, the passion and the zeal of Bobby has made me hate it even more. So
didn't you just wake up this morning saying you just need a Christian Bale musical in your life? I mean, I don't know.
I needed an 1840-year-old Christian Bale singing terribly. He did make me feel a little bit better about my singing voice, to be fair. I'm just, at the end of the day, if I'm in 1992 and I want to watch a musical, Aladdin came out this year. And if I want to watch a Disney live action movie, Mighty Ducks came out this year. I'm watching those. I'm sorry to the musical nerds out there. My wife enjoys them too, and I'll enjoy the occasional one, but this just was not it for me. I'm sorry.
I will say we do this with love because we like to have opinions. And in this case, Bobby has the positive opinion. The rest of us might be saying, this is skipping. I like those other suggestions. Man, I would love to wash my brain out with some Mighty Ducks right now. You know, I needed that earworm and I didn't get it. And there's probably someone who's going to say, well, this song in the movie is the one that you should listen to over and over. Maybe if I run Santa Fe nonstop, but it didn't have that pull for me. And I really want a song in a musical that always goes, you know what, I would be willing to listen to that again. And I kind of missed that. And I understand it's a movie and it's not theater in the same sense. And, you know, the driving point is a bit different because of how we're consuming the songs, but I need the songs to kick a little bit more butt. And there are plenty of other movies where songs kick a lot of butt when it comes to musicals. So I'm giving it the pass. Bobby gave it the go. Matt's giving it a pass. You make up your mind. If you love musicals, you've probably already seen this. And maybe the key is we just need to go watch it in the theater. How about that, guys? We're going to take a field trip together and go watch Newsies in the theater. Okay, you are not responding. As always, thank you for listening. And just know that anyone who doesn't act in their own self-interest is a fool.